Hi, I'm Barbara Lucas, and welcome to the Green Room, where we explore the environmental topics that green up our world. Today we'll be talking about how local businesses can achieve their sustainability goals with the help of Washtenaw County's Environmental Excellence Partnership Programs. Our guests are Noelle Bowman and Katie Wytychak from the county's Water Resources Office. Noelle and Katie, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So there's 3 environmental excellence programs, and 2 are voluntary and 1's mandatory. And we are going to only very briefly touch on the mandatory program. Katie, will you tell us about that one?
Yeah, it's called the Pollution Prevention Program, and it was started in the late 80s as a way for the public and especially emergency responders to know where large amounts of toxins are being stored. So that's one of the goals, just to know where those toxins are. And the second goal is to help make sure that the toxins are stored and disposed of in a really safe way.
Okay, great. Now the 2 voluntary programs, the first one we'll discuss is the Washtenaw program. And that one, the name alludes to wasting less and less waste. So can you elaborate on that, Noelle?
Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's a program that helps businesses and organizations based in Washtenaw County to send less trash to the landfill by using less resources.
Great. So a prospective partner would call you up and you'd arrange to visit and you'd check out, see what kind of trash they're making and give them advice on how to reduce that.
Correct.
So what would be an example?
Yeah, let's take one of our partners, for example, the Juvenile Detention Center in Washtenaw County. What we did a couple years ago is we went there and we actually did an on-site waste audit, and we determined what they were throwing away and helped them to recycle and compost more.
Mm-hmm. And what were some of the things they were throwing away you helped them divert?
Yeah, well, they were previously fluorescent bulbs, used vegetable oil, were streams that were going into the trash, and now they're recycling both of those streams in addition to other materials as well.
Mm-hmm. And I guess the mercury in the fluorescent bulbs is a problem, right?
Yes, it is. That's why fluorescent bulbs, both the compact fluorescents and the tubes, are not safe to be put in the regular trash.
And the oil can be used for fuel, right?
Yes, that is true. So they have the Juvenile Detention Center has a partnership with a company in Michigan that actually takes their used vegetable oil and they convert it into fuel that's able to be used in agricultural machinery.
And you mentioned composting, which reminds me of that program you said one of your partners, actually that's all they do is worm composting.
That is correct. One of our partners, Star Valley Farms, who is actually our 2015 Environmental Excellence Award recipient for waste reduction, what they do is they design and install vermiculture systems, and vermiculture is worm composting.
Great. And how about a partner organization that has decreased their use of disposables?
Yeah, one partner that comes to mind is the Washtenaw County Office of Infrastructure Management. We did a waste audit there about a year ago, and in their kitchen in particular, basically it was stocked with single-use throwaway items, so your styrofoam and plastic cutlery.
Mm-hmm. And they put in a dishwasher.
Yes, and so after that waste audit, what they did is they eliminated all of those single-use throwaway items and they replaced it with ceramic plates and dishes and metal silverware, and they installed a dishwasher.
Great.
So they're sending significantly less waste to landfill.
Excellent. And then speaking of landfills, I've heard that a large proportion of what goes into them is paper waste, and that's such a waste of natural resources. So can you give me an example of an office that might have reduced that?
Yeah, certainly. One of our partners that comes to mind is H&R Block in Saline, and just the very nature of their business, being a tax company, they generate a lot of paper, and so what they do is they really strongly advocate double-sided printing.
Great.
And also they reuse their paper by making notepads out of paper that would ordinarily be disposed of.
Great. And by chance, do they buy paper that has recycled content too?
Yes, they do, and that's really important because it sort of closes the loop.
Yeah, excellent. And I guess electronics is a concern as well?
Yes, electronics are a pretty common form of waste that's generated at pretty much all businesses, computers, TVs, and those do not belong in the landfill because they have toxic materials like heavy metals that are harmful to the environment and human health. So.
Previously you mentioned anything with a cord, and actually even the cords themselves, I guess there's metals within them that can be...
Correct, yep. So what we help our partners to do is connect them with places that will recycle those metals.
Great. And it's not enough to have them doing this, you also check to see if the policies are on their books. Why is that important?
Yes, so policy plays an important role. What policy does is it ensures when there's switch of employees or change out of staff that the practices are consistent with that changeover.
And also, it's not enough just to have the policies, because you also need to make sure your staff knows about them, right? So how about education?
Sure, yes. Education is an extremely important component. So one of our partners that comes to mind is Lawton Elementary School. They recently participated in a national recycling competition, and they reached out to us, the Washtenaw program, to provide education in the form of signage for the recycle bins, as well as educating the students at an assembly about recycling.
Yeah, excellent. Do you want to give a shout out to a place that does both great policy and education?
Yes, one of our most active partners would be Zingerman's, and they excel at both of those things. Their entire community of businesses do.
Okay, now we're going to talk about the Community Partners for Clean Streams. Katie, what's that?
Well, Community Partners for Clean Streams is very similar to the Washtenaw program, but it aims to reduce pollution in our waterways. So we work with businesses and nonprofits to improve their everyday practices.
Okay. How about an example of one of these best practices?
Sure. One easy one is when any sort of business or nonprofit needs to clean their vehicles or equipment, we want them to make sure to do that in an enclosed area that's not going to drain out into a storm drain or to a creek or any other kind of waterway. So a good example of that is the RIDE, Ann Arbor Transit Authority. Okay. They have an enclosed system, and all the water that comes off of the buses that they wash will actually be recycled and reused again. It's slightly treated and then reused again. And then the rest of it goes out into the sanitary system, and none of it goes to the stormwater system.
Yeah, I've heard this term, the sanitary sewer, and that's a little confusing because I grew up thinking a sewer was that open grate at the side of the road. What's the difference between those two?
Yeah, so the open grate on the side of the road is actually a stormwater catch basin, and anything that goes into that will go straight to our creeks and rivers, and it's not treated. Whereas the sanitary comes from maybe your sink or your bathroom or your shower, and all those pipes lead out to the wastewater treatment plant, and that is treated.
And you mentioned that something as simple as sweeping can make a difference. How's that?
Yeah, so if you're sweeping, then you're going to pick up all of the dust, dirt, and then all of the pollutants that might be attached to that dirt, and then you're going to put it right in your trash can, and then that goes out to the landfill. Whereas if you're hosing it down, which might seem a little bit easier, you could actually be hosing all of those pollutants into the storm drain, and then that goes straight out to the rivers.
Don't want that.
No.
Another thing I've heard about is something called FOG, which stands for fats, oils, and greases. What's that?
Yeah, so fats, oils, and greases, we used to think that you could just wash those straight down the drain in your sink, but we've actually found that that will build up in all of our pipes, whether it's the storm drain or your sanitary system. And if it builds up too much, then it will constrict any kind of water flowing through it, and then it's a big problem to try to fix. So it's a lot better to prevent any of those things from going down the drain. And you can do that really easily with grease interceptors in your sinks, or for bigger systems, they have bigger ways of dealing with it. So Zingerman's is a good example of that as well. In their kitchens, they have the floor drains, and all of that has grease interceptors.
Wouldn't any restaurant have FOG? I mean, don't they all need some kind of interceptor?
Yeah, it would be ideal if all of them do.
And you mentioned something about a dye test, which is kind of interesting. What's that?
Yeah, so at this point, most places do know if their drains go to the sanitary or to the stormwater system. But if somebody is unsure, then we can do a dye test where we put a non-toxic dye into the drain, and then we check the rivers to see if it comes out. just to make sure that those pipes are leading to sanitary.
Okay.
And by being a partner, we can provide assistance with that.
And education, there's some things you can do to help labeling these storm drains?
Yeah, sometimes it's just as simple as putting on a marker that says no dumping drains to waterway. And we have some partners that will do a campaign where they'll label hundreds of those storm drains. EMU is a good example of that.
Great. And also maybe labeling sinks, don't, remember not to throw such and such.
Yeah, exactly. And we also have a partner, Fox Hills Golf Course and Conference Center, that does a really good job of educating their employees on how to maintain their greens. So they'll do soil testing regularly to make sure that they're applying the right amounts of fertilizers and pesticides. Because if they over-apply, then if it rains, then it will run off, and all those extra fertilizers will end up in the storm drain and out to the creeks.
I would like to just commend you. There's some great resources on your website. Proper paint disposal, FOG, fats, oils, greases. Those are great. How about the landscaping? You touched on that. Is there more ways landscaping can help with water quality?
Yeah, so going back to Fox Hills, they also will put in buffers of native plant vegetation in between their greens and any of the streams that they have on their property. And that's really helpful because those native plants will stop pollutants, stop the water, and help it absorb into the groundwater table, which can help cool the water and clean it as well.
Okay. How about salt? Can it help with
Yeah,
that?
so we also have a big rain garden program, and some of our rain gardens are placed off of parking lots. So we have one at the Ann Arbor District Library. So if they're salting their parking lot and then it rains, then that salt and water will run off into the rain garden. And those rain garden plants are salt tolerant. So then we're stopping that salt from going out into the stormwater system.
Great. So environmental excellence obviously helps protect the environment, and so we all benefit. But there's also benefits to the partners themselves. Can you go over that a little bit?
Certainly, yes. A few benefits are saving money. It's an opportunity to learn, get free advertising and business networking.
Okay. What's an example of a place that might save money?
Yeah, sure. So I'm thinking of H&R Block in Saline. When they engage in activities for paper reduction and reuse, they're buying less paper, which in turn saves them money.
Good point. Okay. What kind of advertising do they get, Katie?
Sure. So we send out a newsletter 2 times every year, and we'll always do a spotlight on one of our partners.
Great.
And that's sent to everybody in the Environmental Excellence Partnership Program. We also will send out ads in the Ann Arbor Observer and the Community Observer. That happens 2 or 3 times a year. And then whenever we go to community events like Dexter Days or an event in Saline or the Ann Arbor Mayor's Fair, at our booths we always advertise our partners. And we also offer free booths at the Ann Arbor Mayor's Fair to any of our partners.
And you have an excellent environmental excellence banquet, right?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah. They get plaques?
Exactly, yep. Each year we hold an annual ceremony. It's televised on CTN, and what it does is just gives our partners a chance to be seen by the community and recognized for their good environmental habits.
Great. And how does this all benefit Washtenaw County residents?
Certainly. So the main benefit for residents is, we live in a very environmentally conscious community, and what it allows for is for environmentally conscious residents to find like-minded businesses.
Good. And you have an excellent website which has a map on it so they can find.
Yeah, that is correct. We do have a Google map of all of our partners by category. So should one of our residents want to find a dry cleaner or a restaurant that's within the program, they're able to do so.
Great. And let's see, how can people get more information?
Our website is probably the best location. It's ewashtenaw.org/E2P2.
Okay. And Facebook?
Yes, we also have an active Facebook page, and that can be accessed at facebook.com, Washtenaw County E2P2.
Okay.
And they can also contact us at the Water Resources Commissioner's Office.
Email?
Yeah, the email address where the program can be reached is really simple. It's e2p2@ewashtenaw.org.
Great. Wonderful. Well, this has been really interesting. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
For an online archive of today's show, go to ewashtenaw.org/greenroom. Thanks for joining us here in the Green Room.